Good afternoon, everyone. This is Teacher Dean. Again, this is Teacher Dean. And today we are going to talk a little bit about phrasal verbs. We're going to talk more about phrasal verbs. So let's look at the first phrasal verb that I am going to go over today. Today I'm going to go over sign off, SIGNOFF. Again, is SIGNOFF. The second phrasal verb is power on. The second phrasal verb is power on. That means to push with a button. So power on is POWERON. POWERON. The next one is run out of. Run out of. Again, it's RUNOUTOF. Run out of. The next word is turn on. TURNOF. Again, it's TURNOF. Now, the last one that I think I'm going to go over is rack up. RACKUP. Again, it's RACKUP. And these are some phrasal verbs that we use in everyday languages. Sometimes you hear it in the offices. Sometimes you hear it in technology. So, sign off. SIGNOF. Sign off means to turn off or to get off a program. So if someone says to sign off, they mean to click your name and click the X. Normally when you do a sign off, you click an X. And sometimes it means to click your name and then it says, are you sure you want to sign off? And the answer would be yes if you want to get out of the program. Right? So sign off, many times you see an X as an indicator for sign off. Now let's talk about power on. Power on means the same as turn on. Normal time when we say to power on, we mean to turn on the button. Press the button to turn on. So I could say press the button to turn on the computer. Each gadget has a button, some at the back, some at the front, some at the side. So some at the back, some at the front, some at the side. But each one has a turn on button. So sometimes we say power on the computer. POWERON means to press the button. Now let's look at the next word, run out of. Run out of. Sometimes when we log on to Zoom, we log on to different technology programs, we are running out of space. Yes, and that happened to Teacher Dean. I ran out of space. My computer went black. Can't see nothing. I ran out of resources. He says, Teacher Dean, how can you run out of resources? It's not something you cook. I got it, babies. I got it, students. It's not something you cook, but resources is also something that you have on a computer. That means it has a certain amount of space, and when you run out of resources, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and they go pink, black. Right? So sometimes we run out of. RUNOUTOF. Run out of resources. Now, let's talk about the word turn on. TURNON. Turn on means to move the switch up and down. Also, it's the same thing as power on. Sometimes we say turn on the lights. Right? Turn on the lights. That is to turn on the lights. Push it up. When we say turn off, we say Put it down. Action. Turn on the lights, turn off the lights. Right? So turn on means to put on. Turn it on. Now let's talk about rack up. Rack up. R-A-C-K-U-P. Again, it's R-A-C-K-U-P. So let's go over these words. Just the definition part. Definition, meanings. Sign off. Sometimes with an X. Right? So when we say sign off, we mean with an X. Sometimes with an X. Sometimes you click your username to sign off. So let's look at the next word. Power on. Power on. Push the button. Push the button. Power on. Run out of. R-U-N-O-U-T-O-F. Run out of. That means finish. Right? We run out of resources. Now, turn on means to click on the switch. Flick on the switch. Sometimes the teacher says, turn on your computers. Turn on your computers. Rack up. Rack up means to gather. Gather a lot of things. So let's go over them a little bit more in detail. A little bit more in detail. So if I tell you to sign off, right? And I already told you that means to log off. When I say sign off, I mean click X. Or I mean click username. And then you click X. Now, sign off. I could say, I want you to sign off Burlington. I want you to sign off Zoom. I want you to leave the meeting. I want you to end the meeting. Sign off. Right? So it could be leave or end in terms of signing off for Zoom. Now let's talk about the second word. We talk about sign off, and we're going to talk about the next word that we had on the board. And what was the second word we had on the board? I believe it is power on. Power on. So let's write the word power. P-O-W-E-R. Now, when we talk about power on, we mean to turn on. So we're pushing buttons. Many times we're pushing the button. Now, this word power could be used by itself. You're like, Teacher Dean, what you mean? Yeah. So, if you live in Florida, they would say Florida Power and Light. Power is part of the name of the company. Power is also used in churches. They say, I've got power. Like, what is that, teacher? Yeah, I've got power. So power can be used by itself, and on can be used by itself, but it has a total different meaning. Right? Power means the electricity. Power the computer. Power up the computer. Plug it into the power socket. Power. Right? So power on means to turn on, but sometimes they use it by itself. Sometimes the word power is used by itself. So you have to know how to connect it to the power. Connect it to the outlet. Sometimes you hear that. That's the word power. And like I said, you'll hear it in your electricity bill, from Florida Power and Light, from any electricity company, they call it power. Also, in some textbooks, they have it as acronyms. Power is also used as an acronym. So let's understand that this word power has several meanings. Now, so we talk about sign off and we talk about power on, which is the same as turn on. And sometimes when they talk about the power, they're talking about outlets. Connect your computer to the power outlet they're referring to. Okay, so sometimes they talk in short versions, but that's what they mean. Connect it to the outlet, turn on. We're going to next go to the word turn on. Turn on is the next one I'm going to cover, and this word also has two meanings. So turn on means also to flick up a switch or to power on, right? Also, turn on has another meaning between man and woman in terms of emotion. Sometimes they say, this man turned me on, right? They're talking about their emotions. They're not talking about anything else. There's not a switch on the man. They're talking about their emotions, how they feel. It could be love, it could be lust, but that person turned them on. That's what they mean. Okay, love and lust. So that's to turn on. So turn on means we're using a switch, and it also has to do with emotions, right? Where you love somebody. Have you ever loved somebody so much it makes you cry? See, that's the love I'm talking about. Love, right? Or you like somebody. Okay? Those are the emotions that I'm referring to today. So we talk about power on, we talk about turn on, we talk about sign on. I'm going to talk about next rack up. Rack up. Teacher Dean, what does that mean? Rack up means to gather a lot of things and put it together. So rack up means to gather. So when I talk about rack up, I could be talking about getting a lot of things. So for example, I could be talking about racking up, gather a lot of markers, gather a lot of markers, racking it up. And sometimes, or most of the time, when they use rack up, they use it in terms of racking up brownie points or racking up numbers. So when they talk about rack up, they talk about it in brownie points, and they talk about this in numbers. Sometimes you'll hear the cop says, we rack up a lot of deals. We rack up a lot of tickets, right? Rack up. And then we talk about rack up in terms of brownie points. To do a lot of things so people like you. Rack up in terms of brownie points. I want somebody to like me, so I want to rack up. To do a lot of nice things so they can like me. That's rack up, right? Be positive so I can rack up people to like me. That happens a lot on social media. That happens a lot. They want to rack up favorites. They want to rack up likes. They want to be with the in thing. That's okay. That's your choice. That's your option, right? But some of us want to rack up. Let's go ahead. So we talk about rack up, sign off rather, power on, turn on. Right? Now, those are the ones I want to talk about. But I also want to quickly review what we did last class. We talked last class about what? Walkthrough. We talked last class about the processes. So we want to walk through the processes. We also talk about let's back up. Back up. Back up means to go backwards. Let's back up. We also talk about float around. Float around. So when we talk about back up, walk me through, and we talk about float around, here's how I want to end today. So you can remember that we did them in the last class, and you can also use them in your sentences for homework. I want to thank you all for walking me through the process. Again, I want to thank you all for walking me through the process. Let's back up for a minute. Take a look at what's going on. Let the ideas float around your brain. Again, let's back up for a minute. Think about what's going on. Let the ideas float around your brain. Again, this is Teacher Dean coming to you and telling you we're going to be just okay. Everything is going to be all right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your day. Bon appetit! Enjoy your lunch, your dinner, your breakfast, whatever you're doing right now, right? Because that's the way we do it in class. Have fun. Smile. It's going to be just fine. Don't worry. Be happy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Don't worry, be happy. One love, Teacher Dean. Thank you.